network, and we're live across America on this radio station or cable system and around the world at crntalk.com. So many ways to get us. Hey, tomorrow's guest, Dr. Bart Rossi, licensed psychologist. He also is the nation's premier political psychologist, author of The New American Lifestyle. Gonna discuss a psychologist's view inside the mind of the Germanwings pilot. Seton Motley, president of Less Government, editor-in-chief of StopNetRegulation.org, and he says, aren't we all looking forward to the Internet at the speed of the government? Yes. And in the second hour, Van D. Hip Jr., former Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Army, going to talk about the latest book, The New Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It. Right now, let us go to Marshall Frank, retired captain from the Metro-Dade Police Department in Miami, Florida, where he spent the majority of his 30 years investigating murders or commanding those who did. Frank is a regular editorial columnist for Florida Today newspaper. Recently wrote the suspense novel entitled The Upside to Murder, and he maintains a blog site, Frankly Speaking, where he posts stimulating articles about a myriad of subjects from politics, crime, social issues, radical Islam, and even motion pictures. Hey, Marshall, welcome back to the show. How are you?
Hey, Chuck, it's good to talk to you. How are you?
Pretty good. Hey, we're going to talk about two things, actually. We're going to look at the present, what we learned, because you put out a little notice there talking about a Wall Street Journal article, and then we're going to look at the past, which is learn from Nazism, no deals with Iran. Hey, first off, what about this lady you're talking about? Is her name Jan Ali?
Ayan Hirsi Ali.
Ali, okay.
Yeah, it's a marvelous woman. She is born in Somalia, and she was abused terribly when she was a little girl. And in order to escape a forced marriage when she was a teen, she escaped and went to the Netherlands. Excuse me. And she ultimately became a Dutch citizen, and she became part of the parliament. I'm making a small story smaller, but she's recognized all over the world. She's authored a number of books on Islam, especially women in Islam. And she co-produced a movie called Fitna, which was produced, I think, 2004 with her Dutch associate Theo van Gogh.
And that really upset a bunch of people, didn't it?
What she was doing was exposing the trials and tribulations that women suffer under Islam throughout the world. And when that was released, it was only a 12-minute movie. It wasn't like a full movie. Theo van Gogh was murdered in the streets of Amsterdam, and by a radical Islamist who claimed to be very proud to have killed him, and that he did his job in the jihad. So she has been living with a fatwa over her head ever since.
Yeah.
The last 11 years, and the most egregious thing is that recently, just last year, she was scheduled to give a talk. She's a frequent speaker at universities.
Universities, right? Yeah.
And very articulate woman, and she calls for a reformation of Islam. That her personal beliefs, religious beliefs, have been recognized as atheist, actually. However, she acknowledges that Islam is a big part of the world, and that there are ways that Islam can be changed so that it integrates with the rest of the world in a peaceful kind of way. But that would require a reformation, which incidentally was what recently was called for by El-Sisi in
Egypt.
Anyway, she is. I really recommend for people to look her up, Google her, get her books, get her writings, her articles. She's brilliant, and she speaks with authority from the inside.
I was thinking that she was on Fox not too long ago, and also whenever she was, scheduled to get that honorary degree, it's Brandeis University, Brandeis University.
Brandeis.
Brandeis University. Where's that located?
New York.
New York. Well,
oh, wait.
okay,
I think I'm sorry. I believe it's in Connecticut. I messed up. But Brandeis is a very popular university among the Jewish people. And and as a matter of fact, I have given talks to Brandeis clubs in Florida.
Were they worried about a bombing or something like that, Marshall, you think?
No. You know, what's happened in these universities throughout the entire country is that there's been a flow of money under the radar that's come over from the Middle East. All right. Some other nations, but part of that is the stealth jihad that I've talked about before, and in which the Muslim Brotherhood, the long range goal of the Muslim Brotherhood and a lot of these other radical organizations is to convert America into an Islamic state, and to do it from within, not necessarily do it with war.
Yeah.
And this is part of that program is to fund universities. And when Harvard accepted like $26 million from Saudi Arabia back in 2005, I think it was, and Georgetown University accepted $20 million, and you have Missouri University, you have colleges, Berkeley, all over the country that have accepted huge amounts of donated monies from the Islamic wealth authorities in the Middle East. And they don't send money over to these universities in order to help us have better education.
Yeah, give them a better football team.
Or a better football team. There's a method to the madness, and it's eventually to change people's thinking, and also to prevent people from speaking out against Islam on the campuses.
Now, if the listener wants to check this lady out, you can go to marshallfrank.com, because I know you've got a link there for her.
Yeah.
And it's AYAAN, and the last name ALI, and marshallfrank.com. They should find it there, right?
I'll tell you, the women of the world, especially in the United States, NOW, should pay a lot of attention to this woman, because she is an authority on women's rights internationally. And because if the international community eventually gets to what they're looking for, women's rights in the United States will go down the tubes quickly, because 20 or 30 or 40 years from now, if the Islamist jihadists get their way, there won't be a NOW.
Yeah. Well, NOW, they're way down on my list of favorites now. I think they showed their true colors, especially with Sarah Palin, That was a pretty good example. But, I think they're a strictly left-wing organization now. That's just my personal opinion. And they should pay attention to a lady like this, but they won't.
Well, no, they won't. But it's a shame, because even the left wing, even the liberal people, can be open-minded to learn from people, learn from others. There is a number of former Islamic women that have written numbers of books who can explain what it's like for women to live under Islam. Another one is Noni Darwish, and she's just brilliant. Bridget Gabriel.
Yeah, I've had Bridget on, and there's another one that wrote a book. I wish I could remember her name, but it was, what is it? The Sharia law is here, or something like that. I'll have to check that out and see which one it was. You have another interesting article, Learn from Nazism. No deals with Iran. And like Marshall says, if you want to understand, it's basically, if you want to understand the future, sometimes all you have to do is look at the past, right?
So true, huh?
Yes.
So true.
Tell them about this one, and I wish they would teach this in every college or high school, Marshall. Make them read this article you wrote.
Okay, I'll make them. I'll go in guns blazing, read this article.
Yeah, there you go. Guns at school, there you go.
To me, it is so basic and simple. I don't see this as complicated. I see this as so basic and simple, because what's happening today is exactly what was happening in the mid and late 1930s in Europe. All right? The people there were demagogues, and they were and they were killers and murderers, and they were looking for world conquest, things like that. Well, the same thing is happening today in Iran. Iran is hell-bent on world conquest and to dominate the Middle East and eventually create jihad, death to America, death to Israel. They've never changed those chants. They've never changed those ideologies. And they're firm. They're rooted within. The only difference between Islam, the radical Islam, and the Nazi era of the 1930s is that one has a God you can see and another one has a God you can't see. Otherwise...
Yeah. Now, the God
thing.
you can see, all right, we'll go to Germany. The one that worshipped a God you could see, the God that you could see, and people say, wait a minute. Yeah, well, that was Hitler.
Yeah.
And the other the other worships a God you cannot see, and that's Allah.
Right.
Boy.
And, the moderate Muslims will say, well, it's all the same God. And it depends on whose head you're talking about. But to the radical Islamists, and let's face it, there's a couple billion of them in the world, couple million of them in the world. To the radical Islamists, Allah is supreme, and there's no other God but Allah. And anybody else who thinks so is an infidel. And according to the Quran, if they can't be converted, they must be killed.
Now
so,
you say, go ahead.
Yeah. So if people who like to defend Islam, they certainly haven't done their homework because it's all in writing. It's all there.
Now, you know how people will jump up and down anytime you're going to compare Obama to Hitler, okay? And they used to compare Bush to Hitler, too. But when I look at this right here, you say Hitler not only hated Jews, but was clearly hostile toward Christianity.
Yeah.
I paused for a moment. You said Hitler, okay? You didn't say Obama, okay?
Right.
He doesn't necessarily hate the Jews, but I don't think, for example, Israel is one of his favorite choices, right?
I think that's
but he's
hostile
toward Christianity. Look at Phyllis Schlafly's book, the war, Obama's war against religion. But anyway, you'll say, let's see, as noted by the German Albert Speer, Martin, you probably, I know Joseph Goebbels, yeah.
Yep, Martin Bormann. These were the insiders that knew most closely of Hitler's leanings. Hitler did not let his religious leanings be well known around, to the general public. Because he wanted to appear to be Christian, because the majority of the people in Germany are Christians. And if he was an antichrist, or if he was not Christian, then he wouldn't have had all the support that he engendered.
Yeah. To get their support, he would do that.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, it does. I'm telling you, boy. Hey, coming up on a break here in less than a minute, Marshall. This article's so interesting. When we come back, we'll talk about 1938. All right.
Right.
And all of this stuff, it's sounding so familiar. I mean, you've got Chamberlain, we've got, what's his name over there? Kerry right now, peace is at hand, or it's right in his fingertips. He can see it. Anyway, you can study the past and, sort of gives you a crystal ball of the future sometimes.
Definitely.
Marshall Frank and, his latest book, The Upside to Murder. You can go to marshallfrank.com/book, The Upside to Murder. Get a link right there for that book. We'll talk about it a little bit later. And his website, marshallfrank.com. That's easy. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Joan London, and if you're worried about your parent or a loved one living alone like I was, and you want reliable senior care information, then call A Place for Mom, the nation's largest senior living referral service. You'll get free information on assisted living, Alzheimer's care, nursing homes, even important financial information.
They had obviously researched every place, not just given me names.
Really? Yeah.
They found me a place for what she could afford, and it was magnificent.
We're now very confident that she's safe, and they just helped every step of the way, and I can't thank them enough.
So if you're struggling to find reliable senior living information, call A Place for Mom. This is a free service, and you can trust them to help you.
If you're struggling to find reliable senior living information for your mom or dad, then call or go online to get the free help you need during this turbulent time. Call now, 800-471-5173, 800-471-5173.
By popular demand, the showroom at South Point presents Tony Orlando live in concert, hit after hit, April 3rd to the 5th. Tickets at the box office, online at southpointcasino.com or charged by phone, 702-797-8055. Tony Orlando at the South Point. The showroom at South Point presents illusionist Rick Thomas with mind-gripping effects that will have you mesmerized. April 10th through the 12th. Is it magic? Illusion. Is it real? Tickets are vanishing fast. Conjure yours now by the magic of going online at southpointcasino.com or charge by phone 702-797-8055. Rick Thomas at the South Point.
If you make the decision to buy the home, then you're faced with what's next. What do we do?
We started at Realtor.com.
Realtor.com gave us a lot more current information.
Listings are pulled directly from the MLS every 15 minutes.
Once you've gone through all of that, the realtor makes it happen.
We worked with the realtor that really knew the area.
And he knew the market.
When you have someone who has the expertise, it makes it so much easier.
Realtor.com and Realtors. Together, we make home happen. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors.
Hi, this is Ron Sedgy, inviting you to join me for The Tonight Show of Radio every Saturday night, 9 to 11 Pacific Standard Time on CRN Digital Talk Radio. Now in our 24th year and well over 19,000 guests, The Ron Sedgy Show live originates from our Universal Radio studios. Celebrities from TV, music, movies, literature, politics, and show business, at one time or another, they all come to The Ron Sedgy Show. So why don't you?
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Marshall Frank, and from the blog, Frankly Speaking, we're looking at learn from Nazism. No deals with Iran, and boy, that deadline is right around the corner. Let's go to 1938 here and bring them up to date on the past, so to speak. Bring them up to date on the past. I like that.
Okay, well, that was the year that Neville Chamberlain, who was the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Neville Chamberlain, came to, I don't know if he was invited or if he came on his own, but he met with Hitler in Munich. And they signed a pact. It's called the Munich Pact, in which they agreed to let part of Czechoslovakia be taken by Germany in exchange for peace throughout Europe. There'd be no more aggression and all this kind of stuff. And Chamberlain, of course, Hitler signed off on it. Everybody, was happy, and then Chamberlain came back and got off the airplane waving his agreement around, saying there's peace in our time and everything's good. Of course, that lasted about a year, or not even a year. The following year, Hitler invaded Poland through a ruse. He used deceit to do that, but he invaded Poland in September 1939, and that really kicked off the full-blown war in Europe. Hitler had no intention on keeping a peace. He had no intention on keeping whatever promises he made to Neville Chamberlain. Chamberlain was just a stooge in the whole thing, and Chamberlain wasn't prime minister much longer because they needed to have a real man in that job, which turned out to be Winston Churchill.
Of course, now for the listener, Marshall, as we go through these dates, years, remember, there's no way Iran would do this, no way. I mean, true, they holler every day, death to America, death to Big Satan, death to Little Satan. But don't worry, it would only happen, with
if
Hitler.
They make a promise, they'll keep it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They won't wait a year and then, okay. So then we go forward to 1939, and little Hitler decides he's going to do another ruse, so to speak. Well,
what he did is he and his generals formed roofs where some German soldiers dressed as Polish soldiers on the other side of the border, and they started firing into the German, or allegedly firing into the German station, which
radio station there, right?
The radio station. And of course, the Germans said they had to defend themselves, and that they were only defending themselves against aggression from Poland, which was a big lie. We have to remember, that lying is the biggest part of war. As a matter of Muhammad, the Prophet Muhammad is quoted in 3 words in the Hadith, saying, "War is deceit." So every bit of war is all about fooling the other party, fooling your enemy.
You know what? And if you think, that only the enemy would live to that, you can think about the Normandy invasion. A lot of deceit that we did, which made that successful.
Exactly.
The little tiny paratroopers that weren't real, and putting Patton down
the rubber tanks in England. That's right.
And remember one of the most interesting stories. I know I'm kind of getting off here, but remember the soldier that was dead, and they took him and they put all the secret information and the love letters from his sweetheart and had him washed ashore. And I think it was in France. The body and
new to me. I haven't heard that one.
Yeah, they got permission to take this guy, and they turned him into a British soldier or an American soldier, I can't remember right now, and they had all these love letters that this lady had written to him on behalf of the United States, and put it, that it more or less gave the information where they were going to land, which is not Normandy, right? It was the other location up there where Patton was.
Right.
And the body washed ashore, and I remember a very interesting story they did on that, and the lady that wrote the letters, and her part about it, and she just said, I don't know what it was. It was she knew that the guy really didn't exist, but they asked her to write all these love letters and stuff like that, and they kept it such a secret. A very interesting story.
Yeah, well, they should make a movie of that.
I think they have, actually, and I'm trying to think of The Man Who Never Was or something like that. I'll try to find out and send that to you. So now we've got, all right, the Germans dress up as police army soldiers attacking the German radio station. All right, this is the SS. And then when we come back, I'll try not to interrupt him anymore. Well, I will, of course. We'll get to the fall of 1939, and little Hitler, he's on a roll now. Well, most people know this, but this is some interesting stuff. And just think of, instead of Germany, Iran, and see how all of this kind of could sound very, very familiar. Marshall Frank. It's MarshallFrank.com. That's MarshallFrank.com.
We are perfectionists. We do it right and don't stop until the job is done. We build commercial zero-turn mowers with maneuverability, power, and comfort. Who are we? We are Kubota. Now, during our More Power to You sales event, you can get long-term financing as low as 0% APR on new commercial-grade Z700 series mowers.
For more information or to find a participating dealer, go to Kubota.com.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
Located in the heart of Maui's premier resort, Kaanapali Beach Hotel is officially recognized as Hawaii's most Hawaiian hotel and the #1 best value in Hawaii. With a range of accommodations and affordable dining options, this is the ideal setting to turn Hawaiian dreams into lifelong memories. Live Hawaiian entertainment every evening, free year-round children's programs, weekly arts and crafts fairs, welcome breakfast, and departure kukui lei ceremonies add to the value. Swim in the whale-shaped pool, indulge in the fabulous spa and hotel salon. Enjoy Hawaiian hospitality at its best at the Kaanapali Beach Hotel. Call 800-262-8450 or go to kbhmaui.com. That's kbhmaui.com. Aloha.
Kaanapali Beach Hotel, Maui's Hawaiian Hotel.
You order a glass of your favorite Cabernet, fresh asparagus, hollandaise on the side, a filet, medium rare. You unfurl your napkin with a flair, close your eyes, and prepare to listen. Ah, there it is. The sweet music you long to hear. The sizzle. The sizzle of a Ruth's Chris steak.
The most magnificent corn-fed prime beef, broiled to perfection at 1800 degrees. Some call it a sizzle. We call it an anthem.
As the waiter approaches, you think, is this one mine or that one?
Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Like Ruth always said, life's too short to eat anywhere else.
Make a reservation online at ruthschris.com or by calling 800-544-0808. Homeowners, now is the season to be thinking about your roof, because all it takes is one storm to turn a small roof problem into a major leak. If it's time for a new roof, call Sears at 888-465-9720. You can save $500 if you call right now. Sears licensed, fully insured contractors can get your roofing job done right. Just call 888-465-9720. Sears has a variety of shingles and styles that are built for long-lasting performance, and you'll save $500 if you call now. So call Sears for a free in-home consultation at 888-465-9720. Hurry, offer ends soon. Not available in all areas. Installation provided by Sears authorized licensed contractors. License information available upon request. That's Sears Roofing. Call right now and save $500. Call 888-465-9720. 888-465-9720. Call Sears now and get that roof repaired. Call 888-465-9720.
Hi, this is Bill Martinez. Join us every Monday through Friday from 9 to noon Eastern when we're covering the issues that matter most to you. From Obamacare, the latest from Russia, the Middle East, Israel, immigration, and more. We're talking with the policy and political experts so you can be better informed. It's Bill Martinez Live, brought to you in part by my friends at Good News Tax Relief. Let them help you get your peace of mind back by dealing with the IRS for you. Proven experience, proven results. Call 800-255-7500.
Everybody's talking at me.
CRN and Chuck Wilder here with my guest, Marshall Frank, Guard Captain, Metro-Dade Police Department, Miami, author of The Upside to Murder, and you can find his blog site, Frankly Speaking, when you go to marshallfrank.com. And Marshall, Paul Stern sent me a little message there that one of my loyal listeners, Al, out in Riverside, California, I was talking about, I thought it was called The Man Who Never Was, and Al had time to look it up, and that's what it was. 1956, Second World War film, based on the book by the same name, The Man Who Never Was. Clifton Webb, by the way, was the actor, and I can send you the link, or you can Google it yourself if you want to, but it's
I just wrote it down. I'm going to Google it.
Very, very interesting, and talk about deceit. And there were so many. I'm so I guess hung up on World War II and any World War I, World War II, especially movies and inside information that went on. And you're talking about 1938, Peace in Our Time, Chamberlain. So then we get to the fall of 1939, and another little hanky-panky deceit that Hitler got involved with, connected to Joseph Stalin, right?
Well, yeah. Well, Hitler and Stalin met, and of course they each had their own agendas. But what Stalin wanted to do was develop a kind of a defense border. So they agreed to divide Poland, and Hitler took the west, and then and Stalin took the east end. But Hitler he hated communism. He considered that his primary enemy in the world was communism. And but anyway, they signed the pact, and Stalin signed the pact that Hitler presented to him, and that was good until June of 1941, and Hitler invaded Russia. It was the greatest invasion in history.
6 years from peace in our time. And I think things might move faster, unfortunately, because, if you look at Iran and then you look at the map and you look at, I think it's 5+1 they call right now with the Iran nuclear deal that's going on. And, you can almost picture, oh, don't worry, and hey, don't worry Egypt and don't worry Yemen and don't worry, you know what I'm saying? Everything's going to be wonderful, isn't it? In its own way. Yes, that's a song, by the way. So, unfortunately, while all this hanky-panky deceit's going on, you say we lost, around 50 million people died?
50 million people died in World War II. It's more or less a couple million. But it wasn't just the Holocaust. It wasn't just the ovens of Auschwitz. I mean, there was 12 million that died by being exterminated. But with soldiers and civilians and everything else, it was, the young people of today are very detached from that. I don't think they teach much about it in the history schools.
On purpose.
There's nothing that they can relate to when they see what's going on in today's world, because, my life bridges these two eras, and I see very clearly what's going on today. And I think a lot of people do, not just me. I don't have any crystal ball.
Yeah.
Just all you have to do is open your eyes and just see what's going on. We have an ideology. I call it an ideology because it's not just based in one country, but the core of it is based in Iran. And the ideology is world conquest. And nothing was going to dissuade that. Nothing. All right? And so if you make deals with people like this who will make a promise to you now, and they'll decide that, next year we can break this promise. And we're even considering that allowing them to have the centrifuges and things like this is like, we got a bunch of amateurs in our government. What is the purpose behind this? That we would give them what they're looking for, and in the long run, they will lose because they will have conquered the world.
Yeah.
This can happen in 20 years.
I know you'll think I'm totally nuts here, but you'll still come on even though you think that, right, in the near future.
I'll think about it.
Yeah. What if we had that Manchurian candidate? If we did, this is the perfect time because, the dumbed down education system, I remember, in the 60s, when I went to high school, man, you had to study world history. You had to know what had gone on and all the sacrifices that, these veterans had made and all the people that were killed. And you even had to study state history. That was a requirement when I went to school. But now, no, let's put in Common Core and let's talk about the first terrorists in America. They were the people that threw the tea bags off the little boat there in Boston.
Right.
I mean, it's scary, Marshall. It is absolutely scary. And if you just what you and I have discussed, and I know I said this a while ago, as a listener, substitute the word Germany with Iran and all of these great little deals that are going on, and I guarantee it's not going to take 6 years if they decide to make a move because things happen probably 10 times faster these days.
Yeah, well, all you need is to have one nuclear bomb, all right, to go off. It could go off not only in Israel, but it could easily go off simultaneously in Washington, D.C.
And you could...
imagine the devastation that would create. And people don't even talk about the EMP bomb, the electromagnetic...
That's what I was going to say, yeah. That's the next one. The EMP, my goodness.
Well, that would just neutralize all our electrical power centers throughout the whatever range that they set it off for. It could be the entire country, actually. And that would put us back into the dark ages 200-300 years ago. The only food we'll be eating is what you can grow in your own yard.
And we're fighting, immigration and so many other things and people unemployed, food stamps and all this. But still, this power grid legislation, they keep wanting, to put that off and just kind of go about it half-assed. It's very, very serious. And they even talk about North Korea. They say, they've got the capability right now of doing the EMP. And I've talked about it a lot on my show. And there's a new book out called The New Terrorism, How to Fight It, Defeat It. And if you get a chance, you might want to review that one because that's an excellent book. Van D. Hipp Jr. And he was the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Army for a while there.
Right.
But people
I
don't
think
listen.
The only way
Marshall?
we can defeat this is through strength. If our country has to come and present ourselves as being very strong, and we are doing
very strong and very patriotic.
Very patriotic. And very united, and everything is just the opposite right now. It's
the president just recently, maybe even last week, says that he would like to make voting mandatory and subject to stiff penalties if you didn't go out and vote. And if you ever watch, Fox and O'Reilly and Water's World.
Oh, yeah.
Have you ever watched Water's World? There's a reason that you don't want to make voting mandatory. Go ahead.
Well, I really, a lot of servicemen would not like what I'm going to say, but I personally believe that national elections should be 21-year-olds and over. Because honestly, the 17, 18, 19-year-olds, they don't have a handle. All they're looking for, well, not all, but many of them, is what am I going to get for free? And, they don't totally understand the issues that are going on with either party or whether it's the parties or not. There's so much complicated issues that I think voting should be 21 years old, mandatory, and nothing sooner. I realize a lot of 20 and 19-year-olds go to war, but that doesn't mean that they have the knowledge to know how they're casting a ballot. I think in today's world right now, in our country right now, we see what happens when a lot of ignorant people go to the polls and they vote for one issue like food stamps or something, and they don't care what happens to anybody else, or they vote women's rights as though one party is against women's rights and the other is only for it. When both parties are for women's rights. And
I'll tell you what, and I want you to think about that. Because about the women's rights and stupidity at the polls, because we got to talk about Hillary real quick. But I just want to say that wrapping up this article, Marshall says, the end result in all of this, the fact that Iran is the most notorious sponsor of terrorism in the world, and Iran's ultimate goal, jihad. Keep that in mind when all this stuff's going on. And as you say right here, fool us once, shame on them. Fool us twice, shame on us. And the twice, we may not be able to even think about it if it occurs. The problem...
you're right.
Go ahead, yeah.
No, I was going to say, yeah, you're absolutely right, because in today's world, we're not talking about propeller airplanes and tanks on the ground. We're talking about far, far more widespread, deadly weapons, and it's a very bad situation right now. And if Iran gets the bomb, there are going to be millions and millions of people that will die, and innocent, good people that will die.
Yeah, it's not going to be
as well as Muslims. Millions of Muslims will die along with them.
And it's not going to be this Cold War that we went through with Russia. No. They're not going to wait around.
Well, that's going on. Russia will basically take whatever it wants because it will be so diverted away from that issue that it will be of no meaning to us anymore.
And I keep saying it, Marshall, that, if Americans don't get involved in what's going on, not only nationally, worldwide, but also locally, there's not going to be any hope. I mean, it's great to be tied up with television programs you like. I keep going back to the good old days. Yeah, I kind of say that. When I remember in radio, you had to devote 5 minutes an hour to news. Had to. That was the FCC regulations.
Right.
And if you stop and think about it, that wasn't very bad because, some of it had to soak into the young mind. But now, oh boy, that's serious. But Marshall also points out in an article called Hillary, what women need to know. If you're sitting there on the fence saying, "Oh boy, my chance to put a woman in as president," and I've heard this from a couple of people, "Oh yes, we're going to get a woman president." First it was a black and now a woman, and then I guess transgender will be, in 8 or 12 years. I'm not sure. It's very, very dangerous if that is your line of thinking, strictly to put a woman in there. Take it away, Marshall.
Like any woman.
Yes.
I was I have to say one thing good about Obama being elected as president. I was very happy to see that our country could elect a black person to be president of the United States.
Me
that
too.
We are not a racist country. That was a good thing. The only problem was it was the wrong black president. And
caused more racial strife than we've had in ages.
Than it ever solved. That's right.
Absolutely.
President. And this woman who has been wanting to sit in the Oval Office as president since the 1990s when she was married to the president. That is her only goal. I don't believe that she has any concern for the welfare of our country at all. Even I don't think she cares about women's rights. What I think the only reason she keeps talking about it is because it's a huge voting bloc, and that's her key to being elected. Mm-hmm. All right, but she's probably the most egotistical female I've ever seen in public office. The whole world surrounds her. It's her life. It's her world.
Yeah.
Hillary's world. Hillary is for Hillary, and I don't think she's for anybody else. And she is the most secretive, non-transparent politician in government today. And I can't believe that women will vote for her just because they think she'll advance women's rights because she's a woman.
And they won't take time to look into the Clinton Foundation. And that's, I guess, the most serious reason not to vote for is because of all these favors that she owes. And she might be, egotistical, but she knows that if she owes those favors, that's going to keep her in office.
Well, when you have whether you personally receive millions and millions of dollars from a source or your foundation receives it, when that money comes into that bank account, you owe them something. That's just the way it is. That's life. All right. That's even the good people owe favors when they accept large amounts of money from corporations or from individual donors or from foreign investments and things like that. It's called quid pro quo. I mean, every lawyer will tell you what we're talking about. And it's just the way of life in a free society like we have. But when it goes too far and you have radical Islamic sources that are sending money and funds into your huge foundation, what are you going to do now when let's say you have to confront those same sources in a issue of national security 2 or 3 years from now? And you owe them a big favor because they sent $25 million to you.
Yeah.
It is a conflict of interest. It's the ultimate conflict of interest, especially for a person who is seeking the highest office in our country. They cannot be neutral. They cannot be fair. They cannot be true to the Constitution because they owe so many favors to people who could, possibly be our enemies.
And, talking about her ego and her maneuvering, and she's learned this, being around Bill, I guess, and, I think she was fired from the Watergate, lawyer team that she was on because she was trying to get them to commit fraud or something. Now, do you know the exact reason,
the only thing I read was that the attorneys that fired her said that she was non-believable, that she was a chronic liar.
Yeah.
She couldn't be trusted.
And as we go into this break, Marshall, I want to tell the listeners real quick. Once again, MarshallFrank.com and go to the blog, Frankly Speaking. You'll see it there on the top, the link. And if you want to see how this lady operates, Frank has got a link, all right, about how she really, really, really knows how not to answer a question. That may be, was that proper English there? Really knows how not to? I'll find out from the expert here when we return. Marshall Frank. Wow. And if you get a chance, get a copy of his book. It's a suspense novel, The Upside to Murder. That's another subject he's an expert on. Believe it or not, yes, because he was the captain at Metro-Dade Police Department in Miami. Be right back.
CRN travelers, relax at the beautiful Fountain Grove Inn and Conference Center in Santa Rosa, California. Come to quality and come to luxury. Experience the newly renovated guest rooms. They're generously sized and they're decorated in the Tuscan tradition. They have great, incredible pillow-top mattresses, luxurious linens, and down-filled comforters. The Fountain Grove Inn also offers complimentary Wi-Fi and internet access. There's warm cookies and coffee every evening in the hotel lobby, and you can visit the newly remodeled Equus Restaurant and Equus Lounge with its new wine bar. It's the ideal place to relax and enjoy a glass of wine and watch our What's Cooking on Wine show on CRN with host Larry Van Alst on Wednesdays. It's the Fountain Grove Inn, Hotel, and Conference Center located in the heart of Sonoma wine country. It's easily located in Santa Rosa off the 101 Fountain Grove Parkway exit. Call 707-578-6101. That's 707-578-6101 or visit fountaingroveinn.com.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. Do you feel like you're losing control of your finances? If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, we can help you take back control. The IRS is the largest and most aggressive collection agency in the world, and they can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Take control of your tax problem now by calling the experts at U.S. Tax Shield and take advantage of the Fresh Start program and new laws that may allow us to negotiate a settlement for the lowest amount possible. Our team of tax attorneys and enrolled agents can stop collections and get you protected so you can take control of your financial future. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau, so call now. 800-351-8614. That's 800-351-8614. U.S. Tax Shield. 800-351-8614.
Homeowners, there's never been a more affordable time to help protect your home and loved ones. You can now get a $100 Visa card from Protect Your Home, your authorized ADT dealer, with the installation of a new ADT monitored system. Call Protect Your Home today at 1-866-669-8954. That's 1-866-669-8954. Call now. 36-month monitoring contract required. General terms and conditions apply. Visit protectyourhome.com/terms.
Called the Oprah of radio by her listeners. Award-winning host Dr. Pat Baccili is blowing the doors off of traditional talk radio. Get ready for an energizing delivery and powerful interviews with leaders in the field of human potential. Dr. Pat's fresh, new perspective on living life full out has catapulted her show to the top of talk radio. Tune in and Dr. Pat will help you thrive instead of merely survive. Visit thedrpatshow.com.
Listen to Dr. Pat, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern on CRN.
Everybody's talking at me.
My guest, Marshall Frank, we're talking about his article, Hillary, What Women Need to Know. And news came out today, that Hillary apparently decided to delete all her emails, all from the 4-year tenure, Secretary of State. She deleted them after October 28, 2014. And that is the date when the State Department first asked her to turn over her public records. Tell them about this link you have here.
Which one?
You were talking about, let's see, March, let me find the
number of links.
Yeah, there was, what happened to that? Here it is. March 10th, whenever she was giving her email thing there at the UN, and how she manipulated the audience.
Oh, well, she was asked a question about the money that was being given to her foundation from Islamic countries and sources. I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars. And the fact that these countries are subversive and they subjugate women under the Islamic laws. And when she answered the question, she just talked about the email situation, how she kept she didn't want to have two devices and all this stuff. And regarding to the other question about money, I'm very proud of my foundation, and it does great work for people. Yeah. Any other questions?
You said that she actually went through 30 seconds without giving an answer.
That's right.
And Marshall says that's evasiveness, that's deceit. The administration, I always remember, they had their 3 Ds: deny, delay, deceit. That right. Just about wrapped it up with them, I'll tell you. Man, Marshall,
I think I'm sure that she has broken the law by erasing everything on her computer. I am positive of that. The question is, how do you enforce a federal law on somebody such as her when you have to go through the Attorney General's office and you know who's there?
I'll tell you, if you only are going to vote for Hillary, if she decides to run, because you got to have a female president, find somebody else. Are you ready for this? Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi would be better than Hillary. I never thought I'd ever say that.
Well,
wow.
Nancy Pelosi is a little more transparent, and actually, you know what you got with Nancy Pelosi. I don't like her politics, obviously, but I don't think there's a woman in the political arena that's worse than Hillary.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
There's nobody worse than her. She
Janet Napolitano, you would think, comes pretty close. She got caught on an open mic last week. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah,
hey, Marshall, all out of time. If they want to get a copy of the book, The Upside to Murder, you have a link there on your website, right?
I do, right. I sure do.
All right, and I want you to read these excellent articles at his blog site, Frankly Speaking. Just go to marshallfrank.com, and on the top there you'll see blog site, Frankly Speaking, and click it on, and you'll be glad you did. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you,
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Marshall Frank, The Upside to Murder. Yes, sir, marshallfrank.com. Tomorrow, Dr. Bart Rossi, licensed psychologist, we're going to get inside the mind of the Germanwings pilot. Seton Motley, he says, oh, aren't you happy? Aren't you all looking forward to the internet speed of the government? Huh? Yeah, it'll be as good as Obamacare. Yeah. And Vandy Hip Jr., the book, The New Terrorism, How to Fight It and Defeat It. Thank you very much, Paul Stern. And please remember, slower traffic, get to the right.
Enjoying all your favorite CRN programming is easier than ever. It's right on your TV, through your local cable provider, and on the web at crntalk.com. But when you're on the